What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the changes that have dropped in the Lucio 2.0 patch. There have been a lot of changes to his kit that can definitely impact players at the lower or higher levels. And yeah, let's get right into it. Well, with the changes to Lucio's Sonic Amplifier projectile speed, Lucio players now will likely have greater impact with DPS, especially as that's compounded by the damage increase. Um, It looks like Lucio players will definitely benefit from possibly lowering their sensitivity to increase their accuracy, as his damage is definitely not anything to laugh at after the patch. Another interesting change that has been made to Lucio's kit is now that his alternate fire now considers vertical orientation. This is very interesting as it increases the likelihood of booping people off of edges. No more will you see Lucio's just pushing around about 2 inches and going nowhere. This is also very dynamic for players who can boop a Rhine up into the air and have their Reinhardt shatter the ground and knocking the enemy team down to the ground. This is very similar to the Orisa tactic with using her mini Zarya weapon to lift the team up momentarily for the shatter to be effective. And his crossfade song effect has been increased from 30 to 10 meters, and this is a pretty big nerf to Lucio, as before you really wouldn't have to pay attention to his aura. It just, as long as they were within range, weren't behind an object, it worked. Now you really have to babysit your team. You have to pick and choose which characters to heal. You really have to be everywhere at once, and this makes it a little bit more difficult for players to keep people healed. However, one of the major changes to counterbalance this reduced area effect is that his healing has been increased by 50%. And this is a big noticeable change, and you really will be able to tell whenever you're in your games. I find myself healing a lot more than what I was previously. I'm able to keep people topped off a lot easier instead of having to rely on boosting them, speed boosting them out of danger. His healing is definitely not a main healer. Still should be number 2, but it is very effective, especially when doing amp it up. And the other change that I never really noticed, I didn't even realize that it was a change until I started doing research for this guide, but his sound barrier being reduced from 30 to 20 meters, I haven't really felt any impact of that. Usually whenever you're sound bearing, you're in the center of your team or you're relatively close. It doesn't seem to impact things too much. Now, one of the biggest changes to Lucio has been his speed increase while wall riding. He gets a 30% speed increase buff while on the wall. And one thing that's not mentioned here is that if you jump off of a wall, you also get a little burst of speed on top of that. This can help counter the reduced aura distance, so you can be at different places very quickly. You're able to leave the spawn of the map super fast. You can get back into the fight. It is by far one of the biggest buffs that Lucio has had for this patch. With all these changes, it definitely does mean that players who previously were playing Lucio passively in the backline, who may have had a slow latency or internet connections, who couldn't play DPS characters, they now are going to have to be active players in the match. Gone are the days that you can just sit back and do nothing. You have to be wall riding, you have to be everywhere at once to be effective as a Lucio player now. He's also a lot more fun to play, but he requires definitely a higher skill cap to be as effective as he was previously. The biggest tip that I can give for Lucio players is to practice wall riding constantly. In quick matches and competitive play, you should be jumping off walls, hitting corners, feeling out every chance you can get. I'm constantly jumping off of walls and testing different surfaces. It makes you a better Lucio player. The next tip is stick with your teammates, especially now with the reduced aura. Lucio needs to stick with his teammates. He acts more as a bouncer instead of a passive character now. You really can use him effectively to babysit Hana's or other characters in the backline by healing, putting out damage, or simply by acting as a meat shield. A lot of players won't even bother shooting at Lucio, who is wall riding all over the place, so he can take some damage and then dip out whenever he needs to. For me, positioning has remained largely the same. I have just adjusted to be a little bit closer to my team to ensure that they are getting the effect of my aura. When other characters need help, like Widowmaker or any outlying characters, I'll just move closer and heal them, acting as the bouncer role, as I previously mentioned. It's even easier now to reach teammates, as you can speed boost, wall ride, and jump off and get to them a lot quicker than what you could previously. One interesting thing about Lucio's wall riding is his wall jump push off. In the direction that your camera is facing at the time that you're hitting jump, Lucio will jump in that direction. So this can be even used for vertical jumps to get higher into the air than prior to the patch. This can be useful for a number of reasons, including climbing walls faster or reaching further walls that would otherwise not have been possible to reach. I definitely recommend trying this out in a custom match, seeing the different heights that you can reach. I know I've seen some videos that suggested that wall riding might be bad because half of your aura will be gone while on the wall, but really Lucio should be wall riding as much as possible. Anytime that you're trying to reach a teammate, it should be riding on the wall when possible. When you're healing, you should be jumping off the wall onto your teammate or within range of them. But yeah, he definitely should be wall riding as much as possible. With all these changes, I definitely have seen an increase in Lucio players. He is definitely still viable in the meta, including upper level play. I'm Grandmaster ranked currently, and I see Lucio on the other team constantly. If anything, I really think that Lucio could potentially be overpowered, and he could see a nerf in the future. As it stands for your average player, I don't think he's overpowered because most Lucio players, in my experience, have not utilized wall riding as effectively as they could have, like a DSP Stanky character or myself, but it is definitely possible. Alright, and that's all I got, guys. I'll let you watch the rest of this video. Just take notice some of the wall jumps that I'm doing, how I'm interacting with the environment a little bit more differently, trying to keep it fluid, maintain the momentum that I get from pushing off of walls. And yeah, have a good one. Sorry, it's late. 1 health.
Party on the objective. Let's hear those guns. Push on. Push on. Let's up the tempo. Oh, hey.
The objective is compromised. Let's clear it out.
Double time. Thank you. Let's move it, people. I am ready. Raising the volume. On the objective. Oh, let's break it. Damn!
The point is mine. You're welcome to join me.
All a day's work. Yeah, let's pick it up. Check this out.
Огонь по готовности. Top of my game.
Aerial.
This is gonna make you
I'm
feel
securing
better.
the objective. Anyone want to join?
Turn it up. Feel the healing beat. Party on the objective. Who's in? Heal up.
Watch your back! Eat your armor!
Yeah, let's move it, people. Oh, turn it up. Hey, where'd you go? Here, let's pick it up. Raising the volume. Audio ready. Oh, let's break it. Damn! Move to the beat. Oh, yeah.
Good game, guys.
Victory. Play of the game. Fire at will. Justice reigns from above.